There's no shortage of in-ear monitors out there that you have little open air vents that is supposed to be a solution to help create that sense of room and space and eliminate that isolation. And I know when I first bought before I joined the company, my first set of in-ear monitors from Plunge Audio had like the high-end built-in microphone system so that I could let in some of the room.
Yeah.
And it had this fancy little remote control where I could turn the mic up and down and get different sonic characters out of the mic and everything. But for me personally, I found that to be not super useful. And I know a lot of people that you built that for, they ended up coming back going, I'm not sure this works for me. And what I found was that a microphone isn't going to, like one single tiny microphone built into an IEM is not going to create a very authentic sense of what's happening around you. For me, what I found it was doing was grabbing something in the space around me involuntarily. I didn't decide what it wanted to latch onto. It decided what it wanted to latch onto. And next thing you know, that microphone is grabbing a cymbal or grabbing a screaming person in the crowd or whatever it decided. And now that's what it was just really blasting and amplifying in the space. And so there was this lack of balance and authenticity that I was getting from that. But from what I understand, there's still, options out there where the solution to that isolating effect is a microphone. And in a lot of cases is venting. So I'm curious, like, have you experimented with venting in the products? Like, since I joined the company, we haven't.
Yeah.
But if I recall correctly, you did experiment with venting, and I'm curious what your experience was with that and if you found it to be helpful.
Yeah, in the first couple of years of Plunge Audio, I was working with Etymologic Research, and the product is still there. They've been sold to Lucid, but it was essentially a hearing protection, very simplified hearing aid, and it was meant to be electronic hearing protection. And I developed a really good friendship with Mead Killian there, and so I started to. I used to buy their hearing protection, and I'd pull the circuit out and pull they were like this universal fit thing, and I'd pull them apart and I'd take the circuit out, and then I'd build the circuit into my monitors. And at the time, this is 2011, 12, when IEMs were like really, it's like everybody was. You have to go IEM. So I just about every pair I saw were all these with these ambient mic things, and I called them dynamic because it would, you could move around and things would change. You didn't have this static monitor mix. And that's what everybody wanted. And Etymologic Research was nice enough to actually sell me the circuits without the body. And so I did it for a long time and people loved it. But what I found was that after 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, that they would come back and go, I don't use it anymore. And I'm like, well, it's a really expensive thing to add to not use anymore after 6 months. So I eventually came to the realization, I started to tell people it was training wheels. There are training wheels for in-ear monitors.
Right.
They're to alleviate that, oh no, I feel isolated. I don't feel like I'm part of it.
Yeah.
You get used to it, and then you're like, I don't need this.
Right.
So I stopped. There's a whole backstory we can get to in why I kind of had to stop. At the moment, but I did stop doing that. But it was really essentially because they were training wheels for in-ear monitors. Then, I did a lot of venting the old tube to the faceplate and dampen it, and with really not much. A lot of the companies we were doing that back then, and it really wasn't a great solution. Still isn't a great solution, in my opinion. So what I found and what you sort of led to was this whole chat about, pressure buildup and fatigue. And in designing the unities, and you talking about high passing from 75?
Yeah.
Low, essentially 75. Yeah. Well, So what happens in the design of in-ear monitors, and why the unities, if you look at the graph of the unities, that it flows pretty flat right down to 5. It might even dip off as it comes, below 20 hertz. And that's intentful. There's a reason why we did that. For that very reason, because musicians are wearing their in-ear monitors. Sometimes they're wearing them 8 hours a day in the studio, but you're wearing them on a 4-hour gig. You're wearing them a lot, and every night after night after night. So with an in-ear monitor that has, you can look everywhere. The vast majority of in-ear monitors have a big buildup of 80 hertz and below, because they want that sub bass. They think that makes him sound massive and big, and in an essence it does for 20 seconds,
right?
Until your voice kicks in, and you're like, why doesn't it? I can't hear it. It's because there's too much sub bass in there. So what happens with that sub bass, with properly sealing monitors, that pressure from 50 hertz and below builds up in the ear canal, which is because it can't escape.
Yep.
You get these really lengthy waves that are building up in the ear canal, and it's fatiguing, and it builds up pressure, and it's bad for the ear.
Right.
It's bad for the ear. So in the design of the Unity was, and just to go back, because I've repaired just about any other in-ear monitor company that's out there.
Yep.
I've had them all come to me for repair, and I'm like, why is it when I go to 82 dB, put them on the test, it's like all bass and the highs are like all like this? Like, why is that? And then I turn it up to 96, and all of a sudden the highs would come up to match the bass response. So you had to pin it to get clarity.
Right.
But you still have all this bass response. So what I found was, like, so many people were complaining about fatigue in these other models and stuff. I'm like, why? Like, why is nobody complaining about fatigue in Plunge audio? It's because in my design, it's designed to have all frequencies and the clarity at 82, 83 dB.
Interesting.
Not at 96. So now with the Unities coming out and everybody talking, like, why? My fatigue is gone. I'm like, yeah, because now you can listen to it at 82, 83 dB. You're not getting the pressure buildup. It's just not there anymore.
And is that one of the things that venting was designed to help alleviate, was pressure buildup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's essentially, really, in other words, that's what it's there for. It's no longer really there for an ambient thing. It's for that pressure buildup. And in my opinion, if I can be harsh, it's a poorly designed monitor. If you have all that sub bass response and you have to turn it up to 96 dB to get clarity, it's in design that's not a great scenario.
Right.
So when you design something like that, and then you add a valve or a mechanism to release the pressure, in my opinion, you're putting a Band-Aid on the scenario.
Right.
Design the in-ears properly. Design them without that. And because from your professional experience on stage, you're bypassing it anyway.
Yeah.
And you're bypassing unities that, you're even going further with it. So it, in my opinion, it's better to have something that's designed sort of flat through the lows at 82, 83 dB, where the clarity's there. We don't need to turn them up to get that clarity.